My name is Annabelle Walker. My mom got carpal tunnel syndrome and it totally ruined my life. My mom used to be the best masseuse in all of Brooklyn. People would come to our house from all over just to get a massage from her. I mean, it's not like we needed the money or anything. Mom just liked to make people feel good. Daddy said it was her calling. And he would know, because he worked with God every day. He was the last door-to-door Bible salesman in all of Brooklyn. Because he was such a religious man, and his faith was so strong, he sold a ton of Bibles. Daddy said that we were living by the rivers of Babylon, and that we'd always have plenty of food on the table. Although when it came down to it, it was really Mom who put the food on our table. First night we'd have one of Mom's clients for dinner would always be a special meal. Mom would spend all day cooking up some new recipe she got out of her women's journals. It was like Thanksgiving twice a month in our house. Daddy believed that the quickest way to a person's heart was through his stomach. No matter how his day was, he always let his hair down at the dinner table. He'd even let me and Josh drink wine with dinner. That Spaz is my brother Josh. We used to be a lot closer than we are now. Although we still have occasional moments of bonding. When I think back to those carefree days, when Mom had so many different clients, sometimes Daddy would even help Mom with dinner. Mom was always an adventurous cook. Anytime she had what Dad would call an Oriental type for a client, you could be sure we'd be eating her special sushi sometime soon. And then the unthinkable happened. Mom's hands seized up one day. She couldn't give massages anymore. At least it didn't affect her cooking. Daddy said it was the wrath of God, so we prayed a lot. The doctor said it was carpal tunnel syndrome, that the nerves and tendons in her forearms were inflamed. Daddy still said it was the wrath of God, though, so we prayed some more. Mom tried to stay busy. She might have fooled Daddy and Josh, but I could tell she was bumming pretty hard. And she wasn't the only one. I was beginning to feel like my life was over at 16. I wanted to experience real passion. I wanted to fall in love. I wanted a boyfriend. And then Justin Horton, this kid from 7th Avenue, called and asked me out. I didn't really like him all that much, but I figured dinner and a movie with him had to be better than watching Taxi Driver again with Josh. Daddy said he needed to meet him before I could go out with him. I should have smelled a rat when Daddy asked me how much Justin weighed on 4 separate occasions. Needless to say, our date got cut pretty short that night. And suddenly, it didn't matter that Mom couldn't give massages anymore. It got to the point that I couldn't even get past a hand job with any of these boys before Mom and Dad got their hands on them. My love life was starting to look like a bad car accident. There was always Josh, of course. But it just wasn't the same. rich guy who made a great filet mignon. I went out with a jock, but he was too stringy. There was a Spanish guy. He was nice and spicy. Some nerds, cowboys, skaters, some midgets. I even went out with Mr. Finch, my English teacher. I think Daddy was a little uncomfortable with the age difference. It didn't seem to matter who I went out with. By the end of our first date, my parents would be planning what kind of casserole or stew to put him in. And then I met Charlie. I was in love with Charlie from the second I saw him. He was the coolest kid in school. He even asked me to the prom. I couldn't have been happier. It was spring, and we were in love. Except Charlie had as much chance of lasting till the prom as my mom did of making a mixed green salad for Christmas dinner. I knew what had to be done, and I knew I could do it. I would stop eating meat. I would do it for Charlie. I figured I'd try Mom first. She wasn't into it at all. She said that eating veggies made the baby Jesus cry, and that it was a phase I was going through, and that it would pass. She said that I was probably just upset because we were only having my friends over for dinner. I said she was damn right. She said that she'd make sure the next few would be Josh's friends. Except Josh only had one friend. And he wasn't a particularly big guy or anything. I had to come up with something quick, or we'd be having Charlie cheeseburgers by Thursday. I had eaten a few salads in my life. They hadn't killed me. I mean, plenty of people eat salads every day, right? Maybe if I made a really good one, I could convince them. I'd show Mom and Dad that it was possible to have a good, nutritious meal without eating other people. How hard could it be to make a human-free meal? After school, a few days later, I discovered a whole new universe. I spent almost 2 hours in Kim's grocery. I couldn't believe all the different types of fruits and vegetables. At the same time, I was a bit nervous. I mean, I didn't want to go to hell. Living with my dad, it's hard not to know the Bible backwards and forwards. There must be a good reason that you didn't see Eve tempting Adam with a nice juicy steak or anything. None of that mattered. I'd gladly have gone to hell for Charlie. I was daydreaming about Caesar salads and vegetable stir-fries when I remembered that Charlie was supposed to meet me at my house after he got out of detention that day. I ran home as fast as I could. but not fast enough. They had already turned Charlie's torso into ground-up chuck by the time I got back there. Charlie was part Greek, so I knew Daddy had probably finished stripping the meat off of his legs for shish kebabs. Charlie was dead, and it was all my fault. No, it was their fault. They did this to him. I'll admit I did say some pretty nasty things, but I think that's when I first realized I hated my family. I didn't know where I was going, I just ran. I never wanted to see my family again. I wanted them to die. I loved Charlie and they took him away. Let's face it, my family was pretty fucked up. I knew that I would see them again though. Because of our special bond, Josh would be able to sniff me out anywhere. There was nowhere I could hide. And that's when I found myself on St. Helens Street. Whatever you've heard about St. Helens Street, it's true. Trust me. But if anybody could help me, the St. Helens Street girls could. I should have known they'd find me before I found them. In retrospect, I realized this might not have been the best idea. And then my family showed up. Daddy ordered me to come back home immediately. And that's when he started calling me terrible names. My name is Annabelle Walker. My mom got carpal tunnel syndrome and it totally ruined my life. But now, things are looking up.